एम्बेसडर जिक 7743 की मेटालिक फिंगर्स नर्वसली टैप कर रही थी काउंसिल चेंबर की सरफेस पर। गैलेक्टिक काउंसिल का इमरजेंसी सेशन सिर्फ एक रीजन से बुलाया गया था, ह्यूमंस का लेटेस्ट वायोलेशन ऑफ इंटरगैलेक्टिक लॉ। ऑर्डर ऑर्डर थंडर्ड हाई चांसलर वॉर्थ, उसकी टेंटिकल्स मेनेसिंगली वेविंग कर रहे थे। आज हम यहाँ गैदर्ड हैं क्योंकि अर्थ के रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स ने फिर से हमारे एस्टैब्लिश्ड प्रोटोकॉल्स को इग्नोर किया है। चेंबर में मर्मर्स एको होने लगे। सबको पता था कि ह्यूमंस ट्रबल दे सिर्फ 50 ईयर्स पहले गैलेक्टिक कम्युनिटी में ज्वाइन किए थे और तब से कंटिन्यूअसली रूल्स ब्रेक कर रहे थे। लेकिन ये केस ये बिल्कुल डिफरेंट था। ब्रिंग इन द एविडेंस, वॉर्थ कमांडेड। मैसिव होलोग्राफिक डिस्प्ले एक्टिवेट हो गया। स्क्रीन पर एक ह्यूमन चाइल्ड का इमेज अपीयर हुआ, प्रॉबेबली 7-8 साइकिल्स का। ब्राउन हेयर, टीयर स्टेन्ड चीक्स। उसके आर्म्स में एक स्मॉल फरी क्रीचर था जो सॉफ्टली पर कर रहा था। यह है वायोलेशन, अनाउंस्ड प्रोसिक्यूटर केल, उसकी इंसेक्टॉइड आइज ग्लीमिंग कर रहे थे। ह्यूमन डेजिग्नेशन टॉमी चेन ने डिलिबरेटली एंडेंजर्ड गैलेक्टिक सिक्योरिटी बाय हार्बरिंग एक अनरजिस्टर्ड बायोलॉजिकल एंटिटी। काउंसिल मेंबर्स की गास्प्स एको हुई चेंबर में। बायोलॉजिकल कंटेमिनेशन प्रोटोकॉल्स गैलेक्सी की सबसे स्ट्रिक्ट लॉज में से थे। एक भी अनरेगुलेटेड स्पीसीज की प्रेजेंस कुड पोटेंशियली डिस्ट्रॉय एंटायर इकोसिस्टम्स। फर्दरमोर, केल कंटिन्यूड, जब हमारे एनफोर्समेंट ऑफिसर्स ने क्रीचर को कॉन्फिस्केट करने की कोशिश की, चाइल्ड ने एक्टिवली रेजिस्टेड। पेरेंट्स ने भी ऑफिसर्स को थ्रेटन किया। हॉलोग्राम चेंज हो गया, showing security footage. Tommy was clutching his cat, humans called it Whiskers, while his parents stood protectively in front of him. Human woman was shouting something, tears streaming down her face. Human male की fists clenched, the ready to fight. ये clear violation है of Statute 4471B Biological Quarantine Protocol, Kell declared. Sentence should be immediate exile from galactic community or complete economic sanctions. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Most council members nodded their various appendages. Humans were always problematic, और ये final straw लग रहा था. Chancellor Vorth was about to call for a vote jab. Suddenly chamber key doors burst open. Human ambassador Sarah Mitchell storm करके अंदर आई, her face flushed, breathing heavy. Permission to address the council, she gasped. Denied, Vorth snapped. Proceedings already. I invoke Article 23, right of final testimony. Sarah interrupted. Uncomfortable silence fell. Article 23 was ancient law, rarely used. But technically, any accused species can write the final statement Danica. Fine, Vorth grudgingly agreed. 5 minutes. Sarah stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly. Honorable council members, aap sabne evidence dekha hai. Yes, my people broke your law. Yes, we harbored an unregistered biological entity. But I ask you to consider why. She gestured. Our hologram change ho gaya. Now it showed Earth, but not the thriving blue planet most knew. Ye Earth was different. Scarred, partially devastated. Ye hamara Earth hai from 200 years ago, Sarah's voice cracked. Before we learned to truly care for other species. Humne billions of creatures extinct kar diye. Through negligence, through greed, through simple lack of understanding. Image shifted, showing factories belching smoke. Forests being cut down. Oceans filled with plastic. We nearly destroyed our own planet. Almost wiped out countless species including cats. Ye small creatures that had been our companions for thousands of years. By the time we realized our mistake, most were already gone. Another image. Scientists in labs, desperately trying to preserve DNA samples. Children crying over empty pet beds. When we finally learned to heal our world, we swore an oath. Sarah continued, her voice growing stronger. Never again would we let a species disappear because of bureaucracy, because of rules, because we were too afraid to act. The hologram now showed modern Earth, green, thriving, with humans working alongside rescued and restored animal species. Tommy's cat wasn't just a pet. Whiskers was one of the last 17 cats in existence. Our biologists had spent decades bringing them back from the brink of extinction. That little boy wasn't just playing with an animal, he was protecting a miracle. Council members shifted uncomfortably. Several species had their own stories of near extinction, of loss. You want to know why Tommy fought your officers? Why his parents were ready to die protecting that cat? Sarah's eyes swept across the chamber. Because we've learned that sometimes breaking the law is the only way to preserve life itself. She paused, letting her words sink in. I'm not asking you to change your laws. Biological quarantine protocols exist for good reasons, but I am asking you to understand why we couldn't comply, When faced with a choice between following rules and saving a species from extinction, humans will always choose life. The chamber was silent. Even Prosecutor Kell seemed unsure. Sarah pulled out a small device. This contains complete genetic and biological data on Earth cats. Our scientists have verified they pose zero threat to galactic biosecurity. We were preparing to submit this through proper channels, but it would have taken years. That little boy's friend might not have lived that long. Chancellor Vorth's tentacles slowly stopped moving. You're saying you broke the law to save time? We broke the law to save a life, Sarah corrected firmly. Multiple lives, potentially, because every day of delay could have meant the difference between species survival and extinction. Long pause. Then, surprisingly, old Counselor Hexus spoke up. Hexus rarely talked, considered one of the wisest beings in the galaxy. In my 400 years, his voice wheezed, I have seen many species disappear because we followed protocol. I have seen fewer disappear because someone chose to break rules in service of life. Other council members began murmuring among themselves. The mood was shifting. Motion to establish emergency life preservation protocol, announced Counselor Vex from the Andromedy system, for cases where immediate action is required to prevent species extinction. Seconded came from 3 different directions. Chancellor Vorth looked stunned. All in favor? Tentacles, appendages, and various alien limbs raised throughout the chamber. The vote was overwhelming. Motion carries, Vorth announced almost disbelievingly. Humans will face no sanctions. Furthermore, Galactic Council hereby recognizes emergency life preservation protocol for future cases. As the session ended, Ambassador Zix7743 approached Sarah. Your species, you really would risk everything for one small creature? Sarah smiled, thinking of Tommy and Whiskers, probably playing in their garden back on Earth. That's what makes us human. We've learned that life, any life, is worth fighting for. The galaxy had learned something new that day. Sometimes the greatest strength wasn't in following rules, but in knowing when to break them for something greater. And sometimes, the most powerful weapon in the universe was simply refusing to let something precious disappear. From that day forward, the emergency life preservation protocol saved countless species across the galaxy, all because one little boy refused to let go of his cat, and an entire species stood behind his choice. The galaxy would never be the same.